Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're gonna jump into putting a turbo on a HINO. This is a 300 series, a 338 to be exact. So we're gonna jump right into this. This is a 2012 model. I've already started pulling some stuff apart, but I'm gonna give you the walkthrough on what I've already done and then catch you up. All right, guys, so the first thing we wanna do is we wanna take our intake pipe off. So it's got a bypass tube right here. I had to heat that in order to get it out. It was kind of rough, so I got that heated, got it out, went ahead and took my clamps off. There's two bolts that hold this thing on. One goes through right here, one goes through right there. So once you pull those, get the clamps off of it, you'll be able to pull that thing right out of the way. All right. One other thing too, I went ahead and took the inner fender well out. It's just a couple bolts. I got it laying down right there. So you can go ahead and pull that out, make it easier to work. You got four nuts that hold this this top mount on. All right, so take those off. Take your tubes off and undo that. You'll be able to go ahead and pull that right off. It'll separate. All right, once we got that off, there's two bolts here in the back. You'll see on this elbow right here that goes in the back. I went ahead and removed those. And then there's a couple bolts that just hold on your different clamps for your wiring harness and stuff like that. Go ahead and remove your worm clamp, and then you can pull that right out of there. Let's get that out. All right, we got that out of there, guys. All right, so once we got those things out of there, the reason why we're taking this off is because this thing is completely locked up. It ain't moving. So we got it out. Once we get that out, you want to go ahead and drain the coolant on this thing, get it draining, because there is coolant that runs through this turbo. So go ahead and get the coolant draining. Then we're gonna go ahead and remove our heat shield right here. Once we get our heat shield removed, we can remove our oil inlet and coolant inlet and outlet lines. Once we get all those off, our shield off, take off the downpipe. All right, sorry guys, we got interrupted, got a phone call. But anyways, I kept going on this thing. You got four bolts in the back on the downpipe, remove those. All right, I removed the coolant line over here and here. Now this top coolant line, you take the banjo bolt out of that and it comes right over here. All right, and you want to go ahead and remove the whole assembly. Same thing with the side. It goes right here, and then it goes right in the side of the block. All right, you want to remove both of those and just completely get them out of the way. Now, take off your bolt for that bolts in the side of the turbo for the oil line. Take the banjo bolt out of it. You don't have to remove it all the way. You can just lay it down. Same thing. I haven't removed it yet, but go ahead and remove your oil return. All right, it's got a flex tube on it, so once you get it out, you can kind of bend it down out of the way. All right, once you got those two things off, all right, the turbo's pretty much ready to pull, so we're gonna go ahead and start removing our bolts and get them out of there, and then we can get this turbo out. So I'm gonna get started on that and get it out of the way. All right, guys, went ahead and got the turbo off this thing. If you look down here, this turbo's locked up. I mean, it does turn, but like about right there, it ain't moving no more. So that one's locked up. That's the whole reason why we're changing this thing. So we got the new one lined out. A couple other little things I want to point out over here that I had to remove. There are two bolts on the back side of the downpipe. I removed those. And on the transmission side, there's two bolts on a piece of steel that hooks to that downpipe. I removed those. That way I could move this thing around in order to get that turbo out of there. So I got it out. Remember, I went ahead and removed the two bolts out of this. It's got the flex pipe on it on your oil return, so that's easy to go. I did have to loosen the oil return line to get the back bolt out of this one because my ratchet wouldn't fit in there. So we'll just tighten that back up. Other than that, it's pretty easy going. It's not a real hard job to do. Just a lot of parts that have to be removed. So I'm gonna get going back together with this. I'm gonna go ahead and put the turbo on, start putting it back together. I'll shoot a little bit more video as we go back together with this thing, and hopefully this takes care of everything. We'll be good to go. All right, guys, so we started going back together with this thing. First thing I did was mount my turbo. All right, two bolts on the top, two bolts on the bottom. Those are studs. I had to replace the studs and get new ones, new gasket, the whole 9 yards. Same thing with the turbo. It doesn't come with them, and the old ones are hard to get out, so I'll put new ones in it on the backside for the downpipe. Once I got it mounted, before I put my downpipe on, I went ahead and mounted my oil drain, and I went ahead and put one of my coolant tubes back on. This is imperative that you do it this way or you won't be able to get in there and move around. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put my oil feed back on, and then once I get that on, I'm gonna work on the downpipe side of it and get all that buttoned back up. And then we'll start assembling the front. Remember, we got our other coolant bypass tube, we gotta put it on, and a couple other little things. So it's going back together fairly easy. Just pay attention to what you're doing and put it together the way you took it off. All right, guys, so we got this thing all buttoned back up except our inner fender. I'm gonna go ahead and do that now, but just give you a quick glimpse of what it looks like all back together. We got our heat shields on, downpipes all bolted in, everything's done. Just make sure you put all the bolts back right, and always make sure you put your brackets back on that holds your wiring and stuff like that. Once the install's done, it kind of gives it a clean look once again. So got it done. We're gonna go ahead and put the inner fender on and fill it up full of coolant, and it will be ready to ride. Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Shit Show.